Hi, and thank you so much for tuning in to Think Tech. I'm the host, Attila Seres, and our show, NBT, is the lighthouse for people with great ideas. We give them a chance to share it with the world, and with us today we have a very special guest. His name is Addison Shelton, and he's the founder of an interesting new startup called TaskOne. Now, they have a very interesting new product. It's an iPhone case, but it's a little bit more. It has everything from a knife to a pair of scissors to all kinds of things in there, and it's a Kickstarter startup, and we're very happy and honored to have him on the show, and he's going to be in through Skype. So go ahead and say hi to our audience, Addison.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here.
Now, I have your bio here in front of me. It's pretty interesting. It talks about how you grew up on a maple syrup farm back in Vermont, and spent your childhood building and fixing things around the house, and you just got your hands on everything. And of course, later on, that led to going to Stanford University, where you were building solar-powered cars. And and sometimes you studied, sometimes in between the cars, and then you worked in the solar industry for 5 years after graduation. And then you turned to Apple, where you led a development team for the iMac screen manufacturing process from concept to pre-production. And then you started up another startup, which is now how you ended up in Georgia. And that startup was creating a new high-capacity lithium-ion batteries. I presume that has something to do with the solar experience. And then you decided to start your own startup called TaskLab, and that's where we are today with this fantastic new product. And it seems to me like you're in a workshop as we speak, and I know this is 10 o'clock your time, so you are a very dedicated startup person. So tell us about this new startup.
Well, it actually all came out of just a side project of mine. In the middle of 2012, I just got a new iPhone. I was looking around for a case, and being somebody who grew up on a farm, who has an engineering background, who really loves to tinker, I wanted something that had a little bit more utility than your standard iPhone case. I mean, sure, you can get an iPhone case; it's primitive. You can get an iPhone case that carries a couple of cards and maybe some. But really, beyond that, it wasn't really much. So I started the project by really making an iPhone case for myself, kind of the case that I wanted. And what I came up with, merging a Leatherman-style multi-tool with my case. I mean, I own of multi-tools. I'm a tool. I really like tools. But when I go to work in the day, I never have my multi-tool on my belt, right? I usually don't carry one in my pocket. It's just a little too bulky. So I thought, well, I always have my phone. Why not merge the two? See if I can design something that's really slim and lightweight and not really bulky, but convenient to carry around. And that's basically how I came up with the idea for TaskOne, which is our first product. And I got a couple of fun things to show you guys. So,
awesome.
So this is TaskOne. This is our retail packaging. We've been selling this product for now right around 4 to 5 months, actually 5 months. We had done pre-orders last year in the beginning of the year. We were kind of getting our manufacturing going, and we got all that nailed down last year. This was still a side project at that point. And so now we've been selling this guy in earnest for now about 5 or 6 months. So I have one out of the box right here. So essentially what you can see is it's a iPhone case.
It's like a bayonet plus an iPhone all in one. Very cool.
Yep. So you can see it's an iPhone case. It screws onto your phone, and it has all sorts of fun tools inside. So it has a great 2.5-inch knife, 3 screwdrivers. Right on the bottom it has a little pair of pliers with wire cutters, and it can actually a 3 to 6 millimeter hex wrench. And on this other side, we got a bottle opener. You always have to have the bottle opener.
Hey, it is Friday,
That's right. It is Friday. It's Friday night, in fact. I'm gonna have to use that in just a moment. And then also stored inside, we have this tool, which is actually one of my favorites. I don't know if you guys can quite see it on the camera.
Looks like a saw of some sort.
It's actually 6 Allen wrenches, so you can see on. Let's see if I can get the way. So there's actually 6 Allen wrenches here, 3 on each side, 2 bike spoke wrenches, and a wire stripper in the middle. So that's kind of a cool multi-use tool.
My 2-year-old would just love that thing. We would have so many Band-Aids.
Yep. So it's really just kind of, I mean, it's a fun but also very useful case. I really wanted to make it tough, first of all, because it was something that I wanted to be able to use. I didn't want it to just, be there for show. So all the tools are stainless steel. The back plate is all made out of aluminum. So it's a pretty darn tough case.
Now, you said you've been in production now for 5 months. Does that mean it's something you can buy in stores, or is it a direct sale item?
A little of both. Mostly in the U.S., it's mostly in stores. In the U.S., it's mostly direct sale. But overseas, actually, we're in quite a few stores. We have some great distribution in UK and in mainland Europe and Japan.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And this is just for the iPhone 5 or the 4?
We actually did do a case for the iPhone 4. We just discontinued that because we're kind of focusing on the new phones now. So we have a 5 case. And in fact, you guys are going to be the first ones to see the completely redesigned version of the case, which I also have here.
Yay! I'm excited.
So actually, we're just about to launch this case. And really what I wanted to do is I took all of the feedback from our customers in the last 5-6 months. And the first case, it was personally my first product that I had done from start to finish, right? There's a learning curve there. So there was a lot that I wanted to change. So what I did is I kind of went totally back to the drawing board and redesigned the entire case. Everything that I didn't like about the previous version, I fixed in this new version, and it's pretty rock solid. So here's the new case. So this has my phone in it.
What's different about it?
Well, so a couple things. We added a rubber bumper around the side. So that gives a little bit more cushion for drop protection. Also gives you a little bit of grip when you're holding it. Because remember, you're actually using the phone. You're holding the phone as you're using the tools. And that frightens some people, but in fact, the case is so strong that it takes all of the force of using the tools. So you can jab, you can cut, you can do whatever you can with the case, and it really won't harm your phone at all. So a couple other interesting things that I upgraded is we made the buttons a lot larger, so they're easier to push. We added a couple of new locking features, so it's easy to remove the blade if you're going flying or something like that. And we just kind of beefed everything up and made it a little bit stronger without really adding much weight.
And so the idea is, you mentioned about flying. You would take this case off, obviously, put it inside your carry-on luggage, or do you have to check this in?
Well, you actually don't have to take the case off. So everything in the case besides the knife is TSA compatible. So actually all you have to do, so you can see right now, I have the knife in here. Since you have the knife in here. But actually all you have to do, there's a quick release mechanism that just allows you to, in about 5 seconds, pretty easily pop out the knife.
Oh wow, that's a big knife.
Yep, so you can pop out the knife. This, of course, you have to store in, either leave at home and put it in your checked luggage. But then the rest of the case, you can take all of this on the plane, so you don't have to take the case off your phone.
I wonder, could you substitute that knife with something like a piece of plastic, like a plastic knife?
Potentially, you could. Yep.
Because that still, I have a nice little letter opener that I use for mail. That looks like something that would be perfect for that, and probably 90% of what people use knives for anyway, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, actually, interesting that you bring that up. So the United Kingdom actually has pretty strict knife laws. You can't have locking knives in the UK. You can't have knives over a certain size unless you kind of have a justification for having that knife. So we actually have a second tool which fits in the same slot. So if you're so inclined, you don't want the knife and the saw, we actually have this tool which is a saw with a file and a leather awl, which is also great for opening packages and things like that.
Oh, that's perfect. Or if you have a scratch on your back, you can just put it back there.
Well, I'll let you experiment with that one.
Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Well, we do have to run to a quick break here. So just stay tuned. We'll be right back. You're watching Think Tech.
Hello, I'm Jay Fidel of Think
So
Tech.
next I wanted to kind of go into, so now we did the introduction, right? And the next portion we kind of talk about, what are some of the challenges we're going into distribution worldwide, right? So, you're like a success story. You want to share your success with the world. So tell people, if you were to stand up in front of a crowded auditorium full of young entrepreneurs,
really important. Senator David
tell them what your secret is to success. Is it something you learned at Apple? Was it something you learned at Stanford?
Co-Vice Chair of the House
make them feel
Finance Committee.
special.
Representative Sylvia
That in the
Chair of
end
the
makes
House
you
Finance
seem
Committee.
like a real super
Calvert
duper
Young,
guy.
State Budget and Finance Director.
And then
Actually,
more
I
people will
wouldn't
watch your
Very
videos.
important who know about
I wouldn't mind
state
introducing to the
fiscal policy,
new product, since that's the
state
one on
finances
Kickstarter, if
this
that's okay.
session.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
Let's
they
talk
say
about
we have a
Kickstarter. Sure.
spare $884
No, that'd be fun.
million.
And then we'll
How
put
much
that
do
on
we
the
really
next
have?
segment afterwards.
The Council of
Okay,
Revenues
great.
They're only like
changed
12-minute
its mind
segments, so
about
real short.
projections and how we're going
Okay,
to spend
sounds
that
good.
money or
So,
not. What effect will our current $40 billion of unfunded liabilities have on all of this? And in an election year, what are the real priorities that are going to determine the money bills and the final result of the 2014 legislature as far as you are concerned? We'll cover current fiscal issues, bills of interest of the business community, and we'll look at the provisions, political dynamics, probabilities, price tags of crossover and passage this year. It'll be very interesting to find out what is going to happen here as far as your bills are concerned and as far as state initiatives are concerned. It's an essential program for anybody who wants to know the fiscal state of the state, or if you want to network with the legislators and like-minded attendees who are likewise interested in the subject. Sign up on thinktechhawaii.com. We look forward to seeing you there. Aloha.
Welcome back, and thank you for watching Think Tech. I'm your host, Attila Saras. Our show, Next Big Thing, gives people a place with great ideas a chance to share them with the world. With us today is Addison Shelton, and his new product is going to revolutionize the iPhone case industry. At least it is for those people who like to carry knives, wrenches, and tools like that in their pocket. People like me. So thank you for coming up with that, Addison. Now, Addison, you mentioned that part of your strategy for getting your product out there was to use Kickstarter. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, so for the first product, I had done a crowdfunding campaign actually on Indiegogo. And for our new product, we're kind of going back to the community, and we really wanted to launch it on Kickstarter because we wanted to bring it to the community first, right? We wanted to give everybody kind of a chance to check it out, to get some pre-order, really before we bring it to the distributors. And in addition to that, we also are trying to use for the production tooling for the product. As you probably know, being a startup, you're limited on funds, so the production tooling to make your injection molds and your stamping molds for all your steel parts, that gets pretty pricey. So that's really why we're coming to the community and coming to Kickstarter. And so our new product is a little different than TaskOne. TaskOne's really kind of focused on being a rough, tough multi-tool. But the new product, what we wanted to do is we wanted to make something that was a little bit more accessible to a larger audience. Somebody can carry a 2.5-inch knife everywhere, or doesn't feel like they need to. And so what the new product is, we're calling myTask. And it's a snap-on case, as you can see here. And just looking at it, it kind of looks like just about any other case that you'd see on the market. But the interesting thing about this is we have this sliding tray, as you can see, right in the bottom.
Oh.
And what this is this. So this is what we're calling the myTask Urban. This tray is removable and replaceable. So we have 3 different versions. We have the Urban version, the bulk version, which I'll show you in a second, and then the blank tray, so you can kind of put any of those small items that you need inside. And so the Urban version right here, it has, if I can get it up here near the camera, it has a pair of 2.5-inch scissors. So you think about scissors on a multi-tool. Usually they're kind of these small, small scissors where, okay, maybe you can cut a piece of paper or something like that.
You're likely to cut your finger before cutting anything else with those little scissors.
Yeah, but these are actually some real scissors.
Wow,
so,
look at that.
So it's around a 2-inch blade. You can cut, they're spring-loaded, and you can through cardboard, you can cut through, thin pieces of plastic, of course, paper. So real useful scissors if you have a loose thread or whatever you need to do. On the back side of the scissors, what we did is we put 2 eyeglass screwdrivers. This might be a little hard to see for you guys, but there's a flathead and a mini Phillips eyeglass screwdriver. So like me, if your glasses are starting to come loose, you can fit them right there. Also in the case, we have a 8 gigabyte USB drive right here, which always comes in handy. We have a pen with a touchscreen stylus, a pair of tweezers, a little multi-tool here, which is a Phillips screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, a bottle opener, which we actually have on all of our tools. You'll see a trend there, and a nail file on the side. Then also on this guy, we have a mirror. So that came about from my wife. She always uses the little apple on the back of the phone as her mirror. So I put that one in really for her. So she can have a good mirror when she needs it.
That may be the best addition to your product yet. Very smart.
And then lastly, what we have is have a little. You won't be able to see it too well with all these bright lights, but we have a little LED light right here. So if you're in the dark, you want to use the mirror, you got your light source. The other great use of it is if you're in the dark, and you want to do some FaceTime, you just have to pop it open, turn on the LED, and it can light up your face for FaceTime. So those are all the features of our urban case.
So it has and you mentioned it comes in different configurations. Does it have a different tray for different purposes?
Yep. So right here I have the bike version, and as you'll see, actually the trays are identical except for what's inside them. So I can pull out the urban and slide right in the bike version right here.
So if you're going biking, you can take the bike tray in with you, and then when you go out to do urban warfare, you have your other one.
That's right. And the bike tray has kind of all the tools you'd need if you're a bicyclist. Tire irons, pedal wrenches, Allen wrenches, all those things, as well as a tire patch kit. So those are the 2 current models, and what our vision for this is really getting a tray for all sorts of different activities, customizable. So all of our customers and users, they can kind of pick and choose. Okay, well, what fits me? What do I want to have in this tray? Right? What kind of items and tools and things do I want to carry?
Well, I know for me personally, I sure could have used something like this. I don't know if you can see my cell phone, but it's kind of boring, and it has this little rubber case, and I can pull out my business card. So that's and whenever I do that, people think I'm some sort of magician. So it sounds to me like with your case, they're going to get a whole new wow effect. Well, how do people respond when they see these cases opening up and things coming out?
Well, they're pretty surprised because again, when you take a look at this case, even if you're just holding it in your hand, you wouldn't even really notice that there was a tray in there. It fits in pretty nicely and doesn't add a whole lot of bulk. So I think when you go ahead and just slide it out like this and people can see all the cool things inside, they're pretty surprised.
Well, and so who's buying this kind of stuff? And tell me more about Kickstarter. What kind of contributions have you had, and what are you offering as an incentive?
Sure. So we just launched, and we're basically the incentive is we have some great prices on these cases. Right? So a $30 pledge will get you what we're calling the myTask stash, and that is I'll show you here. This is a red tray. Really, it's just a blank tray. So you can do with it. If you want to put your business there, your business cards fit just fine. If you want to put anything else that you can think of, not have to worry about putting it in your wallet or putting it in your pocket. You can do that. So that's the $30 pledge. For the $50 pledge, you basically get your choice of a black myTask Urban or myTask Bike. Going up from there, for a $75 pledge, you get your choice of color, and then you also get a myTask Urban or myTask Bike plus the myTask Stash. So then you can have the extra tray just to kind of do as you please. And then up from there, of course, you can get different combinations of the different products.
Yeah, I was looking at your website here. You do have some pictures. I'll hold up my little iPad here. You can kind of see some of the pictures here of, you have pictures of guys kind of cutting branches with their iPhones, and they're fixing their bicycle with that. So this is pretty useful stuff. And I didn't look at your Kickstarter campaign. How successful are you so far, and how much time is left?
Well, we still have. I'm actually looking at our runner's screen right now. We still have 31 days. So we just launched it. And so far we're doing pretty well. We're right around 10%, actually a little more than 10%, 12% of our goal. So we have a ways to go, but I think we're on a good track.
What is your goal? I know it says it on there.
Yep, 25,000 is what we're looking to raise.
Oh, that's reasonable. That's reasonable.
Yep.
You should be able to hit that.
Yep.
What was that one with the pen that recently raised like $500,000 or something, or $1 million?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, there was some Kickstarter campaign a few months back that raised like $1 million or something like that for a pen. So if they can do it for a pen, you can probably do it for something a little bit more advanced.
Yep.
Now, of course, well, we're going to run to a quick break here, and those of you watching, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Castle and Cook, Hawaii. Investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state. Collateral Analytics, empowering the real estate industry to make better informed property investment decisions. The Foreign Trade Zone, bringing the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone programs to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. Galen Ho, a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company. Hawaiian Electric Company, and its affiliates Maui Electric and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island. The Hawaii Energy Policy Forum, incorporating diverse perspectives to design a flexible and forward-looking energy strategy. Hawaii Energy, the state's energy and efficiency program created to help Hawaii's residents and businesses adopt a clean energy lifestyle. Hawaii Gas, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future. Hawaii Pacific Health, bringing technology and teamwork together to transform healthcare in Hawaii. The High Tech Development Corporation, attached to DBED, is the state's leading technology agency. The Scheidler Family Foundation, supporting educational, cultural, and charitable organizations, including ThinkTech.
We're back, we're live, and you're watching ThinkTech. I'm your host, Attila Sures, and on our show, Next Big Thing, we are the lighthouse for great ideas. With us today is Addison Shelton. He's the founder of TaskLab with their premier product, the TaskOne, a all-in-one tool for the iPhone. And he's joining us via Skype. He's on the East Coast, so it's a little bit late for him, but luckily he's got just the tool that will open up a beer at the end of a long Friday evening. So, I can tell your beer is probably off the screen, but over here we're still on Hawaii time. We still have daylight out here, so thanks for staying up late for us. I appreciate that. Tell us a little bit about now. What kind of challenges you've had in trying to bring a product like this out into the market? Because I got to be honest, this is not the first iPhone gadget we've had on ThinkTech, and we've discovered in talking with other guests who have tried to make things such as like telescopic lenses for iPhones and that kind of stuff. It's not as easy as it sounds, and you have a very distinguished background. Has that helped you to become more of an entrepreneur and to get this idea from conception to reality?
I think there's a couple of things that helped me. The first one is probably my stubbornness. Growing up in northeastern Vermont and working on lots of projects, that was kind of what I did. I stuck to my project and I pushed it through. So certainly, I think most entrepreneurs will tell you that's kind of a big part of it. You really just gotta push through the thick and through the thin. I think the other things that certainly has helped me is my experience at Apple. I was doing kind of the manufacturing and early development at Apple on the iMac screen, and that experience really taught me a lot about, I think, mostly vendor management and how to work with vendors. So the product, the current product is made, different parts are made all over the world, in fact, and they all come together and are assembled. And I think one of the big challenges for me was finding reliable vendors, and then also being able to manage those vendors to create high quality parts. And then beyond that, getting them all in one place and really getting it assembled, doing the quality control, and making sure the product that's going out the door is a high quality product.
Well, isn't that where some startups fail? Is that they have a great idea and then the vendors kind of, push them in front of the bus, and when the product actually gets to the consumer, it ends up either being very low quality or not performing the way it's supposed to. So your vendor relationships have been the key?
Yeah, that's definitely been important. Also, I've spent a lot of time at my vendors, kind of in some ways, kind of helping them through the process as much as I can, whether it's with, documentation about, this dimension needs to be this dimension needs to be this, or just doing troubleshooting with them when there's issues on the manufacturing. So really being on the ground floor at my vendors, I think, has helped a lot.
Now, have you gone overseas for manufacturing, or is it all inshore?
I actually do have manufacturing overseas, and I have a good friend and partner who lives in Taiwan who actually helps oversee some of that as well. So that was another kind of key component for me, is to have somebody who can help me translate to some of my vendors, well, so that I can get the messages across to what needs to be done, what problems need to be fixed.
Yeah, we've heard that from everything from textile manufacturing to tech, is that there's an inconsistent quality. So sometimes you have to go there for pretty much every batch just to make sure that the quality is consistent when it makes its way over here.
Absolutely.
Is that the kind of experience you've had?
Yeah, for sure. And I've actually, in the last year, originally I wanted to deliver my first product, my first batch in April. I didn't end up making my first shipment, I believe, until July. And part of that was for that exact reason, inconsistencies from the vendors, miscommunications. That's a big challenge for a startup, especially when you don't have a lot of resources. And for me, I had another full-time job at the time as well. So, a combination of not having a lot of time and not having a lot of resources makes it a little challenging. But, as long as you can stick with it, and really think about the whole picture, and how all those parts fit together, and make sure you're really detailed on it all, you can get through.
Well, and so once you had the actual product, what was the next step? I'm guessing it was promotion, right?
Yep, absolutely. I actually felt kind of lucky on the promotional side because I had gotten a lot of good press from my initial Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign, and that kind of helped carry me through. But at the same time, even after the crowdfunding campaign ended, I essentially continuously did promotion. I mean, we're still doing promotion, of course, but continuously did promotion. It never really stopped. And I think, I'm not exactly sure who said this. I think it might have been Bill Gates who said if he had $1 left, he'd spend half of it on advertising. And although I don't spend 50% on advertising, it's that's actually a pretty big part for me, making sure I can get the word out and get people excited about the product, even after I launch it.
Well, and it sounds to me like it's a pretty durable product. So you're not going to have a lot of repeat customers. Your customer acquisition cost is probably quite high. Do you mind sharing any of those kind of figures so that maybe some of our viewers can figure out what it might take for them to actually get a new customer on a gadget?
Sure. Some of those figures are a little tough for me to calculate because a lot of it, is more my time when it comes down to it. So,
Which has a value, that's for sure.
which I mean, certainly has value. But I do have a PR company who I pay a monthly retainer for, and I have for now about 9 or 10 months, and they've been great. They've helped me get a lot of good press. They've helped me get on a bunch of shows, and gotten some good national coverage and things like that over the past 8-9 months. So they've been a real help, absolutely.
So maybe your advice to a startup would it be to bring on a PR company as they can probably do a better job in promoting the product after it's been completed?
Yeah, I mean, I think having the help of a PR company is twofold. One, it takes a little burden off the person who's trying to run the company, because there's lots of other things you got to do. And two, they're the experts at it. I think being able to find people and bring people on your team who can help with the things that you're not good at, that's pretty important as you're building the company.
Well, you're good at a lot of things. Just in reading your bio from earlier, you came from Stanford, you went to Apple, and while at Stanford, you're really interested in solar-powered cars.
Yeah, I was.
Tell me about that, because that's kind of a fun hobby of mine mentally, I guess. I'm like a couch solar-powered car builder. Armchair. There you go.
In your mind, huh?
As I think many of our viewers probably are.
Yep. Well, that was a great experience. I actually was lucky enough, even in middle school, my middle school built a solar-powered car back in northern Vermont. So
Wow.
That's actually got my start. So when I went to Stanford, I knew they had a solar car team, so it's kind of a no-brainer for me. I hopped onto the team and got right to it. But that was a great experience for me, because it really gave me some serious hands-on engineering experience kind of throughout my Stanford career. The Stanford education did a great job of kind of doing applied mechanical engineering more than just kind of book mechanical engineering, but having the experience to build actually 2 cars from the ground up was a great way to get some really good engineering experience.
Now, what part of the vehicle did you work on? Because I know typically there's a team, and one person or one small team does the suspension, another team does the batteries, and so on. So, what parts of the car did you work on?
The first car that we did, we actually had a pretty small team. It was 6 of us for most of the design and building. So I did the suspension and the brakes. And then I also did a large portion of the electrical system and the batteries.
So pretty much all the important parts. Stopping the vehicle and making it go. And so what happened with these cars that you made?
I guess I'm dating myself here. So in 2003, we had a 2-person solar car, which raced from Chicago to Los Angeles.
Wow.
On the first day of the race, our lithium-ion battery pack caught on fire. So that was a little unfortunate, but we were able to pull together and made it through the entire race. I would say we were second in our class, but there were only 2 people in our class. So.
Wow, it caught fire. What causes that?
With those batteries, you typically you don't want to let them go under voltage. Well, you also don't want to let them go over voltage. We had a battery protection system which basically would stop the car if the batteries went under voltage. We were really close to the end, and of course we had installed a nice little to turn off the battery protection system. Smart kids that we were. And so we had turned off the battery protection system. The lithium batteries went under voltage, and they went into what's called thermal runaway. So basically they started on fire and got hotter and hotter and hotter.
Yeah, it sounds to me like I know my cell phone gets kind of hot. Same with my iPad sometimes if I use it too much. So is that something different from the consumer electronics that we're used to seeing?
Yeah, it is. Your consumer electronics, fundamentally, the battery could go into a thermal runaway. A lot of really good engineering and really good electronics that basically keeps it from going under voltage, keeps it from going over voltage. Also, in newer lithium batteries, there's a lot of technology built into the actual materials, which makes them a little bit more robust than the batteries we were using in 2003.
Well, and I know 2003, that's a strange coincidence, because I remember that's when the Hummers came on the scene and the EV1 left the scene. Did you follow that at all?
Yeah, it was a sad day when we left the EV1. I think a lot of people were pretty upset.
Well, but you know what? The electric cars are back stronger than ever, so is that maybe something you're interested in revisiting?
Potentially. I mean, maybe as another side project.
Oh, that'd be fun. Well, why don't you tell us then a little bit more about how that experience helped you to actually create this TaskOne product, because solar-powered cars and little pieces of machinery that go inside of an iPhone case are a little bit different. But you know what? Actually, I'm just getting a message here. We're going to jump to a quick break. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. You're watching Think Tech.
See you there. I'm Jay Fidel. That's Sharon Moriwaki of the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum. And every Wednesday we have Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy. We've been doing it for some time now, and we have some fantastic guests on there, unbelievable guests who give us insight into what is going on in a very complex, sometimes very confusing, sometimes very disappointing area of progress in the state. So we love doing this. We love meeting them. We love talking to them. We love having their ideas out on the table. So maybe, just maybe, we can all make some sense of what's going on. Sharon, what do you think?
I think that's absolutely correct. We enjoy ourselves meeting with all these people and hearing about the energy and the state of clean energy, and hopefully we advance clean energy for the state. So it's terrific. Join us.
Okay, it's every Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday is Energy Day. Every Wednesday, 4 to 5 p.m. Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy, here on Think Tech Hawaii. We'll see you there.
We're back, we're live, and you're watching Think Tech. I'm your host, Attila Saras, and on Next Big Thing, we are the lighthouse for people with great ideas. And another person with us today with a great idea, his name is Addison Shelton. Now, he's the starter and founder of TaskLab, and their product, the TaskOne, is kind of like the Leatherman tool for the iPhone 5. They have a wonderful Kickstarter campaign where you can contribute to their product and their projects. And he's got an extensive background that spans all the way back to Stanford, to Apple, and now to his new entrepreneurial endeavor with TaskOne. So Addison, thanks so much for joining us here on the show. And of course, before we left the break, I posed you a question. I know it was a kind of big one, so maybe I can repeat it here. You know, you've had a lot of experience, particularly with Apple, with this solar-powered vehicle building, and you know, those skills are pretty unique. You know, I'm not sure a lot of people are doing robots. They're probably making solar-powered vehicles from their armchair, much as myself, in their mind. You know, it would be nice to be able to take some skills and maybe give some advice to people who are now watching that want to have the ability to create such a wonderful new product, or they have an idea for something cool and new, but don't necessarily have that kind of background. What can they do?
Well, I think there's a lot they can do. I mean, there's a lot of resources out there which can kind of help you in all sorts of different aspects of the product development. I mean, if you have a great idea, but maybe you're not an engineer, you know, I would, my first recommendation would be, you know, go find some people to talk to who might know about that kind of technology or those kind of, you know, those kind of things, and talk to them and, you know, see what they say, see what kind of advice they have, and, you know, all those relationships will lead you kind of on your next path. I think talking to you know, a couple friends that I've had about ideas that they've had, a lot of them kind of, you know, they're worried about their, you know, their intellectual property, and they're worried about telling anybody. Well, if I tell somebody, they might steal the idea, right? I mean, certainly don't put that out of your mind, but at the same time, there are lots of people who are willing to help. So, I mean, I would say from that perspective, you know, kind of branch out, you know, build your network, and find people who can kind of help you along.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard how there's always some new invention that makes its way onto the market, and somebody says, "Oh, I thought of that 6 months ago. I should have done something." And I bet you that there's probably someone who's watching this right now who said, "I had an idea to put a knife in an iPhone case. Why didn't I think of that?" Well, that's why. There you go. You have to go out and do it. And and so, of course, part of the success strategy has been actually creating the product and then marketing the product. Well, what's next? What's the other facet of the business?
Besides creating the product and marketing the product?
Well, maybe delivering the product.
Well, delivering the product, yeah.
Now and
then working on the thing.
You have a global audience. How do you handle the process of actually selling the product and all that stuff?
Well, that's been an interesting learning experience for me too. Kind of trying to expand the business globally, you have to start thinking about contracts with people from different countries who speak different languages, who have different cultures, right? So all that is a little tough to navigate. But ultimately, what I found is when you find good people to work with and good distributors, they're very open to working with you, especially as a startup, right? If they see promise in your product. And promise in the company, then I think there's a lot of back and forth there, right? It's kind of working through the relationship and figuring out what really works.
Now, do you have partners, or is it just you with this big idea?
I have a couple of partners. Yep. Actually, I brought on a partner in mid 2013 and then late 2013.
Okay.
Both of whom have some different skill sets from me. And who complement the company and can really help out in a big way.
So having those right partners also kind of helps. But originally it was just you, right?
Yep. Originally it was just me, really, until really for the first six or 8 months. It was just me.
And so whose idea was it to go to Kickstarter?
Well, that was my idea. I really wanted to go back to the community and showcase the product, raise a little bit to fund our manufacturing for the product, and also give people the chance to pre-order and check it out before we get it to all the big distributors.
Well, it sounds like you have some sales already. Where can we get this product?
Well, you can find it on Kickstarter. I guess I can send you guys the link right after the show. You guys can put it up. But it's on Kickstarter now. We're live and we're taking pre-orders. So I'd love it if everybody could go on and help us out.
So you guys are taking pre-orders, and when are you looking to ship?
We're looking to ship in June, so it'll be a pretty quick turnaround.
Well, that's not bad. So you can have it for the summer when you go out bicycling in the great weather that you have there on the East Coast. But out here in Hawaii, we seem to have good weather year-round. So you can ship sooner out here if you like. Okay,
well maybe we'll try to ship in May out to Hawaii then.
Well, that'll work. Now, what's next? Tell me about what's next, because obviously the first product, usually when you make one, you're already thinking of the next thing. Are we looking at Samsungs? Are we looking at tablets? Are any of those options open?
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of inquiries about doing the cases for the Samsung Galaxy, so that's definitely on the roadmap. And certainly more kind of activity-based tool sets for the myTask. That's definitely on the roadmap, right? Right now we have our Urban and our Bike, but we'd really like to expand that, and ultimately, as a company, we want to help people connect their digital and their physical worlds, right? We have this iPhone. It's a great device for interacting with your digital world, but it doesn't really do much for interacting with your physical world, right? And that's where we want TaskLab to really come in, to be able to give people the options of, what kind of items, what kind of tools, what kind of activities do they do outside of the digital world, and give them the tools easily accessible, built right into their phones to be able to do all that.
And are you the only one who is making such a product, and what kind of competition do you have?
Right now, there aren't a lot of companies that are making anything similar. Certainly nothing similar to myTask. We're the first ones to have a system where you can actually have multiple kinds of tool sets that you can kind of swap and depending on your activity. So we're definitely the first there.
Is there a reason for that? I mean, obviously smartphones have been around for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I think the main reason is there's, I mean, if you think of the intersection between people who think of the idea and people who implement the idea, right, that Venn diagram has a pretty small overlap. I'm sure there's people who have had the idea in the past, but, we had this idea, a couple years ago, and we decided to go ahead and do it. So here we are.
Well, and it sounds like an exciting product, but much like every successful product, sometimes there's some copyright infringement that occurs. Is there anything that's going to protect you moving forward, or is there something that you're going to out innovate the competition? What's your plan for that?
Well, I think it's a little both, actually. I mean, we want to keep pushing forward, as quickly as we can, coming out with new things and making everything better, improving it. But at the same time, of course, we have to kind of do our due diligence and make sure we're protected with the patent system.
So there's nothing really like a special blade or some proprietary thing that's in there that would keep it distinct from any other product out there.
Well, I mean, all of the tools, of course, we designed here, right? So, I mean, the scissors are pretty unique. On TaskOne, the Allen wrench is very unique. The knife is very unique. Some of our systems are very unique, and all of those, of course, we'll try to protect. But like you said, it's a big world and some copycats, and we'll just have to take them as they come.
Well, Apple's done a good job of just keeping their quality really good. So, so I think as long as you keep your quality standards really high, people are going to know, TaskLabs as being the premier product for their premier smartphone, which is of course the Apple device.
Yep, and again that's why we're coming out right now with only 5 or 6 months after we released our first TaskOne. That's why we went back to the drawing board and redesigned the whole thing, because there were a couple of things that weren't quite perfect about it, and we're trying to make a premium product that will last for the user and that they can really use. So that's really where our head's at too.
Well, hopefully we'll see your product in a museum someday, and then next to it will be a sign that says, "This is where it all started," and ThinkTech is where you saw it first. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate that. So, of course, the name was Addison Shelton. His product is called the TaskOne. And for more information about the product, Addison, why don't you go tell our listeners where they can go?
Sure. Well, you can just go right to our website, which is www.thetasklab.com.
TheTaskLab.com. Okay,
Yep.
got it. And I really look forward to seeing some of those new products, particularly some nice iPad cases. That would be awesome. Have a nice big sword come out of something that big. This would be great. Well, I'll give you those ideas. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Addison. Of course, those of you watching, if you like our show, go ahead and like us on Facebook. And if you want to be part of our live studio audience, you can always contact our producer, Jay Fidel. His email address is that's Jay, @Fidel.com. I'm your host, Attila Arrest. Stay tuned for more Think Tech, and of course, be sure to stay tuned next Friday for more Next Big Thing. Aloha.